And so, I asked that question, but I forgot to go back to because you mentioned this briefly. There was a smear piece from NBC, and then there was also Voice of America. So we spoke about Voice of America on the live stream with Enem once before you were deplatformed. Can we talk about what happened with the Voice America story? Because I think that was like the step before this Antony Blinken statement. So what happened with Voice of America? What did they say, and what was your response to that?
So Voice of America is literally funded by the US State Department, yeah? And it's not allowed to publish stories about domestic affairs, although that might change because the US Congress decided that American people shouldn't be propagandized, yeah?
Sure.
But it's allowed to publish. So what's the inverse of that?
You can
Keep the
propagandize
propaganda.
other people, but you can't propagandize
Yeah.
other people, right? Sure.
Yeah. And I think that might have even changed where they do now publish domestic stories. But primarily, it focuses on like American foreign policy issues.
Sure.
So Inham did a story, very factual, indisputable story, listing the amount of drone strikes in Somalia from George W. Bush II to Barack Obama, Donald Trump to Joe Biden. Yeah, and the listing how many they are and saying, irrespective of who wins the US election, drones are going to rain down on Somalia.
Right.
There's literally nothing you can dispute with what she said.
Right.
Nothing. She even put sources there. So then they released a video and they released an article. And the video is on YouTube. You should go on there. It's brilliant. 100% of the comments are people calling them propagandists and people saying this is why he took down African Stream because they're destroyed. Most of the comments are about us and I
Yeah.
was brutal to their piece. Now, what's interesting about this piece is it's related to NBC because when NBC article wrote a piece saying you guys are spreading disinformation to 40 million Black Americans, do you want to respond to these claims? We did this amazing response that kind of went viral. The journalist that wrote it had to make his Instagram private. Yeah. Which I'm a bit proud of. You know what I'm saying? If you're gonna write garbage, you deserve to be attacked for the garbage that you write. So when it came to Voice of America, clearly the journalists didn't want to put their name on it. Yeah. So initially it was written under a name of Priscilla something something. But we searched online, there's no digital footprint of this Priscilla person. And I looked at the journalist that Voice of America have, and there was someone called Purity, I forget her last name.
Sure.
I went onto her pages and she initially listed the story as her story and then quickly deleted it. But we managed to take a screenshot. So to me, this was the greatest honor that you're not even, if you're going to do a smear piece about us, you're not even willing to put your name on it because you know it's bullshit
Right.
and you know we're going to come back. So we did a response to them because in their video and the article they said African Stream distorts the US's role in Somalia. There's only been 3 recorded civilian deaths, which is just laughable. It's not laughable because people have died. It's a disgusting underestimation of how many people have been killed in Somalia, and it's quite easy to disprove. So in our response, we used Amnesty International reports, human rights reports, several Somali NGOs, and we did a very powerful response and basically, shut them up. But I feel like at that point, they were like, we can't discredit these guys journalistically. Every time we try to discredit them journalistically, they come back and use it to grow their platform some more with a rebuttal. So I feel like there was a need to up the ante, and that's what the Antony Blinken thing was. Secondly, the issue that they had is they thought that we were affecting Kamala Harris's potential to be elected into the White House.
Right.
Quite obviously, because anyone that's part of the African Stream, we're critical of US imperialism, but across the board, we see them as 2 cheeks of the same backside. We don't tell people to vote Republican. We don't tell people to vote Democrat. We think they're like uh, the the fox and the wolf, as Malcolm X put it.
Sure.
The fox will bite you with a smile. The wolf will bite you with a growl. But either way, you're getting bitten. So we never in any way would advocate for Trump. However, because our audience is predominantly African people in the continental diaspora, they assess that we're more harmful to Harris's campaign than we are to Trump.
Yep.
And you know, anyone that's watched the Mark Zuckerberg interview on Joe Rogan, he was saying the Democrat, the government of the US would call them directly and say, "You need to
Yep.
take this all the time about insignificant things." I think you mentioned the Leonardo DiCaprio meme that no one would even bat an eyelid for about, and you know, the government's calling them up, telling them to take it down.
Yep.
So I have no doubt that there were someone from the US government was told to do something about African stream. And maybe, I'm just theorizing here, Instagram said, we can't just take a platform that's almost at 1 million down without anything. If you
Right.
say something, then we'll take them down. But we can't.
All right, guys, thanks for watching that clip from the Authentic